Hi, everyone. So glad that you could join us for this live stream. My name is Rag Harshavat. I am on our Snap AR developer relations team. It's so great to be here to talk about a really awesome subject. If you aren't aware, and I'm hoping all of you are, we're currently doing a series of live streams that are specifically centered around our Lensathon. I'm going to put a little link to our Lensathon in the chat right now if you aren't aware of it. But basically, we're working together with Lenslist, who you should also follow and get to know because they're a great resource for AR creators of all kinds. But essentially, what we're doing is a contest that's centered around making lenses that do well and work well with video and for posting. So whether you're making videos for stories or for Spotlight, we're hoping that you create lenses that tailor to that type of use case. And in order to even see that more, we want you, when you submit, to create a Spotlight video that shows off how you use your lens. Now, that's a new dichotomy, I think, for a lot of you folks who have been making lenses. That's not how you usually think about it. And so that's why we're hosting this live stream session, to help you better understand how lenses and video work well together and how you'll be able to make lenses that specifically make content creation and telling stories so much better. A little bit more about the contest, just so you're aware, we have over $30,000 in prizes. We have 4 main categories: pop culture, self-expression, the world around you, and interactive lenses. We just did a great interactive live stream session just last week, so make sure you check out the YouTube channel for that. And then those categories, you'll be able to create lenses. Each of those categories has a first place prize that we'll give at the end of the contest of $2,500, a second place of $1,500, a third place of $1,000, and 6 runner-ups per category of $250. On top of all of that, we're also doing each week of the contest, which is a 4-week contest, we're giving out the top video post prize, which is basically if your lens during that week has the most daily unique posters on Snapchat, and it's a qualifying lens, we had a few criteria in our FAQ, you can win up to $500, $300, or $200 for those prices. And then if you win once, you can't win the next week, but we'll pick new lenses for that week. So anyways, lots of different ways to win. Ultimately, we want you to be posting on Spotlight, to be using your lens to make great video, and tagging them all Lensathon24. You can go to the tag for Lensathon24 to get great inspiration. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're all here. That's my spiel. I want to introduce our amazing guests today, who both are on the Snapchat team, and they can introduce themselves. Today, we're here to talk about great lenses for video. And I want to introduce Jenny and Erica, who are here from our teams to be able to talk better about it.
Amazing. Oh, there's Jenny.
Hello, how's it going, everybody? I'm glad you guys are here today to join us to talk a little bit about, as Rog said perfectly, to tee us up, how to make lenses for content. So we can kick it off. I'll talk a little bit about, I'll pass it to Erica first to introduce herself, and then we can jump into what is Spotlight, the content feed that we have here on Snapchat, and then we'll go into a little bit about ways you can make your lenses more efficient for content creation to help users make content well and successfully, and some categories that we see shine very, very well in the Spotlight feed. So I'll pass it off to Erica to introduce herself.
Amazing. Thank you, Jenny. Hello, all. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Erica Rupp, and I'm head of community at Snapchat. That means that we're just working really closely with creators at every level, from Snap stars to community creators to emerging creators. And we're really, really focused on content. And as Rog and Jenny said, and I think we're probably going to be repeating ourselves a bit throughout this, but it's just because we've got the same vision here. We're really, really focused on video creations with lenses. And that can be stories and that can be Spotlight. Historically, Jenny and I have been pretty focused on Spotlight, which is a newer product for us. And yeah, we're here just to tell you a little bit about that so you can have a better understanding of how to craft this AR to best suit that need. Cool. So what is Spotlight? Good question. And you might be asking yourself that. So if you look at your camera or you look at your Snap camera, it's going to be on the 5th tab. We've got that on the next slide. But basically, this is really our, you can go back to that one for a second. This is really like our Snapchat public stage for creativity, where creators at every single level, and that includes, community creators, Snap stars, celebrities, artists, brands, can submit their short form video content for a really fun vertical scroll experience. The videos need to be at least 5 seconds long. So sometimes we get a lot of feedback of like, I don't know, I'm not able to submit to Spotlight, like what's going on. So I think remembering kind of the criteria and the parameters for Spotlight when you're creating these lenses is going to be the really smart way to really get that lens in this feed, hopefully, for discovery and inspiration for other Snapchatters, as Rog said, to really create like engaging, fun video broadcast moments. And how we think about Spotlight being differentiated maybe from like other platforms is we really are like a camera company. Like Snapchat opens to the camera and like probably always will. And so we have the ability for people to be capturing like really special, exciting, interesting, authentic, organic moments. And that's kind of like where we see our content being differentiated in the short form space is it's really fun content with friends. It's capturing organic reactions, and it's really creator kind of first driven, kept capturing, those moments with everyday friends. And we really want to build these lenses and support the lenses that will really support creators being their most creative, authentic, fun selves. Thank you so much, Jenny. So the technicalities of where Spotlight is, again, we're opening on the camera. We've got chat to our left, and then we've got our beautiful map. And then if you go to the right, we've got the Discover, where your friends' stories live and your subscriptions and the Discover page. And then to the right of that, we have Spotlight here. So again, this content can live, within the stories page, within your friends page, or within Spotlight. This will probably be a little bit more focused on the Spotlight product. I'll throw it off to Jenny to talk about successful AR on Spotlight.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica. So how we see successful AR on Spotlight is that the lenses that are created to support this content really act as a tool to produce engaging content. Again, we'll probably be repeating ourselves a lot, but it's worth it because it's really good information to hold on to. So we hope that lenses that will serve content best can inspire our users and unlock their creativity. And it will also prompt users, or viewers, I should say, to create content that can be tied to a repeatable trend. So it's not only a good experience for the user who is creating, but also the viewer who is in the Spotlight feed watching the content. And that's something that I'll probably touch on a little bit more, and something to keep in mind while you're building lenses. So let's jump into a list of do's. So there's a lot of words. I'll try to make it as colorful as possible with some examples, hopefully. But this is a great thing to reference later. So the first thing, and Erica had mentioned this, is that we want to make sure when you're building lenses that a user is understanding that they are to use that lens for a video rather than a photo. Because in the Spotlight feed, we only support videos right now. So we want to make sure that your lens encourages some movement or transitions rather than maybe like a static lens, with static elements. So in any way that you can, remember to encourage the user to make a video. That's a great thing to hold on to. Another way to do that is to prioritize storytelling. So you can ask yourself when you're making the lens, will this lens help a creator tell a story? So it could be providing maybe a meme-like format, which is a repeatable format to make or to use, or it could be used for an elaborate skit. But yeah, these lenses, as we said, are tools. So giving them a tool for storytelling is really important. A lens that can encourage reactions from people is really important as well. So if you can build a lens that elicits a genuine emotion like laughter or surprise. Those can create really fun organic snaps. We've got a lot of examples of those, of just lenses that, can contort your face into something and you put it on a friend and they don't know it, and they can, they'll laugh in reaction to it or be surprised in reaction to it. So those are great lenses we love to see. Considering the viewers. So this is what I had mentioned before, but very, very important to remember. Not only are we helping creators, but we're also, wanting to create a lens that's a good experience for someone watching. So the previous examples of reactions, if you see a snap in the spotlight feed and you don't know who the person is, but it's a really, really funny emotion or snap reaction, that's considering the viewers, because they'll be, getting entertainment out of it. And the best way to do that is to think, would I want to watch a snap from a stranger using this lens? So always kind of turning it around and putting yourselves in the viewer's shoes is a helpful thing to do. So another kind of a practical tip is less is more. So while you're building your lenses, keeping the UI as simple and understandable as possible is a great thing to do, so that users who are, or creators, I should say, who are, making a snap can access the tools in the lens as quick as possible, giving them clear prompts, and guides like tap and things like that, to know what they're supposed to be doing as quick and easy as possible is the best way that you can get the users to spend the most time creating, posting, viewing, rather than trying to figure out technical things in the lens. And maybe there's more of a chance for them to use the lens, create a great snap, and post it, because they may be less frustrated trying to figure out what's going on. And then lastly, stay timely. So this is something that can be different probably for a lot of people watching this, because a lot of people are probably in different countries. So referencing different things that are going on in culture, different things that are trending in culture. Examples I had put on here, beauty and fashion trends, but it could also be language trends, things that are going on in the world that, the users that you want to reach would resonate with, can trend quicker. And then focusing solely on making like the most technically innovative lens. There are some amazing lenses out there, but I think we've seen some really interesting and fun success in lenses that happen very quickly, related to a very, very specific moment that's going on. A reaction to, something on TV, a reaction to something, I don't know, on the internet in general culture. So that may be very specific for your country, and you know it best. So I definitely say capitalize on that in general. Okay, so we're going to go through a bunch of examples of lenses that fit into categories that I've seen really be successful in specifically user-generated content for a broadcast feed. So the first one is effect and transition lenses. Something to note on this is that some of the most impactful lenses that we think work for content are simple. And I think that's sometimes a little bit of a maybe learning curve for lens creators who are used to working on complex and heavy lenses. But even, this last example with the slow zoom, it's such a powerful tool for storytelling, but such a simple concept. So I would recommend even kind of reassessing, the types of lenses that you think of making. Because sometimes the easiest concepts can be pretty profound in their own way. Here's a couple more examples of effect and transition lenses. What I like about the first two is that they combine multiple clips. The first one uses camera picker, so you can upload videos or photos into it, which I think is really awesome. And then the second one, what I like about that is that it provides the user kind of a moment to, pause the video, and then you can add another video using the lens. It's a little confusing. Honestly, if you use the lens, it makes the most sense. But that allows a user to combine two clips using the lens, which I think is a really fun idea. Awesome. So a lot of you have seen many of these, and I think the lenses Snap has made have really shined in the appearance and expression category. So these will enhance the user's identity, but we like to say not replace it. I think replacing a user's identity totally sometimes can be a little distracting. But if we can add something to the identity of a user for a specific purpose, that can be incredible for content. So the first one, I love to note this lens because I think it's really fun in making jokes about music you like to listen to, what you like to dress up as a kid, whatever. But something cool about this lens is that the whole face of the user is not covered. So you can still see who the person is, which is important for viewers scrolling through the Spotlight feed. So they don't just see a character and they say, I don't really know who this is, doesn't matter. The second example I love because it creates a before and after transition. So even though this is a full face lens and it takes away the identity of the user, in the beginning, you can see their face, turns into a horse, that allows a little bit more storytelling creativity with the lens. So I love transitions into these types of lenses. And then the last one has multiple stages. So if you're telling a joke about, something that you were embarrassed by or something like that, there's a lot of layers to it and you can add all these, stages of transition, which is great.
Something to add on the last one that I'm obsessed with is that you can also tap and the speed of the next kind of layer of makeup. So you could be telling a story about I don't know, some guy ghosting you as you're dressing up as a clown, and you can kind of time it really, really well. So that kind of beautiful nuance really helps up level this content. And really helps a creator be funnier, be more effective, be more impactful, and helps inspire other creations. So just wanted to add that also.
Absolutely. And along with that, making a lens, like this, a transit or an appearance or expression lens, if at the end of the lens, you even have a way for it to cycle back to just your normal face, that creates an even, deeper layer. You could make it go from a clown to a normal person rather than a normal person to a clown. So there's a lot of ways that you can use these and a lot of clever ways to make it more of a storytelling tool. Awesome. Here's a couple more appearance and expression lenses. I like the use in the first one. You can't see it, obviously, because we don't have audio. But if you check out the lens, using voice ML makes your head bigger. So there's a lot of ways you can include really interesting and cool features that we have into this for, kind of a different take. Awesome. Okay. POV and prompts lenses. POV, point of view, we see that used a lot in internet language, I guess, for jokes, but giving people a stage to kind of make these types of stories and jokes are really awesome. So this is really allowing users to have a very, very repeatable format, but giving them the room for creativity to make it their own. So instead of, something that's, going to look exactly the same, if you see all of the lenses or snaps used with these lenses in a feed, these will all be very individual, but there's a stage set for all of them.
And something to note with the middle one is I really love how even the first frame, you can kind of tell that something's happening. On Spotlight, people scroll quickly, right? Our attention spans, they move fast these days. So really engaging and hooking the audience in that 0.5 first second is so crucial. And all of these are really doing that within the first frame.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Yeah. Awesome. These are some of the most classic, clear ways to give a user a prompt. You're on a news broadcast, you're on stage as a DJ on the screen. So there's a lot of fun ways that you can make these types of prompts and things for the user. Awesome. So some of the kind of most fun reactions I've seen lately in content come from lenses like this, like bracket lenses, quiz lenses, randomizers. It's a really fun way to let the user, show their personality and creativity and get a really good reaction from people. So here's a couple examples of those and the formats that they can be made in. And randomizers, we've seen some really fun examples of these lately. I think really playing into culture moments and the things that people in your region are talking about. The middle one is a good example, Riz-O-meter, a classic, thing that we're talking about here. That's super fun. People want to know, what's my level of Riz? And it's a very simple kind of concept, but executed in such a fun way to just create fun snaps. So some things that we like to talk about, engagement considerations, are aspects or parts of a snap that, or parts of a lens that maybe you would add that might not totally benefit content all the time. So we'll go through these and I'll explain a couple examples. But removing the user's identity. So when we talked about some of the lenses in like the horse lens and the clown lens, again, what I appreciated about those is that there was a time that you could see the user's face. So we say in content, when you are focusing on the viewer, not taking away the user's whole identity and blocking their whole face is a good idea to continue to make these snaps that are created engaging. And the same goes for adding extra beautification. So there are lenses. We had a really cool lens made recently. It was about like different ages of makeup, where adding makeup and beautification was totally necessary to the story of the lens. But I would say overall, if a lens is serving as like a tool or a utility, adding extra beautification can sometimes be a little distracting. And generally, younger users don't love extra kind of, color changes and spot changes and things added to their snaps. Younger generations of users and creators are seeking a little bit more of a organic look on their face in a real video. So I'd say if you're used to using beautification and it's something that's necessary for your lenses, no worries. But something we kind of ask creators to reconsider. Maybe adding beautification is not necessary for a lens like this. Same goes for heavy filtering, maybe changing the color, contrast, or saturation of the video in the lens. Sometimes it's totally necessary. If you're making like a Western type lens, maybe adding a little bit of a, sepia tone is okay. But I'd say overall, sometimes adding these types of filters to the coloring of the video can decrease the quality. And in a feed, if you're scrolling through Spotlight and you see a little bit of a lower quality video, it's a lot. Users are prone to flipping through because they may think, they just may be disengaged. So those are a couple of advice in that way. And then limiting creativity is a suggestion I have in terms of maybe the captions or context copy that you would add to a lens. So if you make a lens and you kind of add the joke for the user, it doesn't allow the user to make their own joke. So I always suggest that for lenses that, maybe there's like visual elements, maybe to refrain from adding a text element, kind of explaining that. I think creators are very, very creative. So giving them as much room as possible to make their own joke and use the lens how they want to use it could be a good idea to consider as well. So yes, from all of those examples, we have some key takeaways. We think that lenses that create high quality content in a broadcast feed like this are intuitive to operate. We touched on that on one of the first slides. The user knows where to go, what to add, how to use their the lens that is in front of them. And with that, they serve as editing aids. They'll help them make the best snap for the viewers to see, inspire repeatable trends. So this can come in the form of a kind of meme-like format, or something that gives them a joke to make, a story to tell. They allow for creativity, gives them room to make the snap their own, retains the identity of the user, as we spoke about with a lot of these examples, and they're relevant to the users. So keeping that in mind, all of these things have really, really helped creators that we've worked with find incredible success with their lenses in content.
Just to double down on that, intuitive to operate is like maybe like the most important. Like there's been so many incredible lenses where people just can't get it right away. And like, I know that it would have made like for the best content and it had like such viral potential, but because a viewer couldn't easily kind of like understand how to operate it, it's just like such a shame. Like it's like such a block. So I would like encourage you to like give the lens to somebody who has no idea what it is and just see if they can like naturally interact with it and make content. And that's going to tell you kind of everything, where the pain points are, if there's any kind of like frustrations. So that's a really, really big one. And then serving as like an editing aid along with that, like Jenny mentioned this, but like just look at the Spotlight feed and look at the UI and like what's going to be a blocker and what's not. Because if like the main part of the lens is at the bottom third, you're going to have some trouble with like the like button and the context and the username. So these are like small, like little things that can block like an incredibly creative, amazing, inspiring lens from really like getting the most distribution and discovery that it really could. And then to chat a little bit more about retaining the identity of the creator. Jenny mentioned this, which is amazing, but it's just something to like really kind of think about. Not everyone who uses the lens is going to look the exact same, and they shouldn't, because that's not very fun just to watch everybody turn into the same exact thing. And even like, I think thinking about like retaining like their reaction at the end. So like if you do turn into a horse, which is hilarious, you do also get to hear somebody like laughing, and like you're there's still like a human aspect there. And then the relevant to our users, like the Riz meter is like the perfect example of that. Like our users are, I mean, especially our power users, are really plugged into culture. And so thinking about the things that would be really fun to lean into, even if a bit ironically, is always going to be really fun. And I would even say, and Jenny said this, so I'm just repeating what Jenny said, but I would even say, lean into the timely and topical and trending versus taking too long of a time to like refine and make perfect. Like it doesn't have to be like perfection I think can kind of get in the way with a lot of like really the most talented lens creators ever that we've had the pleasure of working with and learning from. And so like erring on the side of like timeliness and like capturing the moment when it is the moment versus like absolute perfection or like pushing the boundaries of technology. We've seen that kind of have more success with our audience.
Absolutely. I think the note of testing the lens too is something that honestly I should be writing down in this presentation. Really
add it to the list.
Yeah, I mean, as many artists know, if you're looking at your own work so close and you've just been in it for so long, it becomes like I have no idea what I'm working on. So the same kind of goes for lens creation. If you're in it and you're using the lens, there may be small ways that a user would interact with it that you may not catch. So yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Have your friends test it, send it to the family, and it helps to watch them use it. Because if they're struggling with kind of getting into the lens, taking a video from the lens, there may be a very, very small change to make. And that small change can make a world of difference to actually encourage creators to make a snap and post the snap. So huge things to remember, but also very small, things to do. So great things to double down on for sure. Awesome. So there's a lot of facts and a lot of things to consider and think about. But overall, we really want to emphasize that we want lenses made for spotlight content to make these snaps more entertaining, inspiring, but most of all, fun. We hope that, you can have fun making lenses, that these lenses will be fun for users. And as I said before, they'll be fun for viewers to watch. And so that goes, I hope that you can let loose a little bit, experiment, play around with the things that you have worked on in the past, you might work on in the future, and enjoy the process of building these lenses.
Amazing. This is such fantastic content. For those of you who are watching, I don't think you really like, there's just so much wealth of things you can use here. So there's so many lessons that apply to Spotlight, to stories, to just making lenses in general, to how do you design experiences in general. I think that there's so much here. So we're going to definitely open it up to questions. I don't know if there are any from the chat. I'm still waiting for any. So, but in the meantime, I also just, kind of, one of the anecdotes brought out here was like maintaining the identity of the user. And I think it's just so interesting that for so many lenses and games that are created, a lot of the instinct from a lot of game developers, I think, is to build like a full experience, like that covers screen to screen. And yet it's amazing on social media how much better you do if you just even cut out a bit for the face. And obviously the more you can retain the user's identity and you can allow them to play that game. I mean, it's just amazing on our platform how we see those numbers go up, people more engaged with it. I mean, that's what people come to social media for. It's about an interaction with their social identity. And so I think that there's some really, really great stuff to be learned from that. I'm looking here again in the chat. Please, I know we're lagged behind a little bit, but please drop in questions if you have any. But yeah, I guess just real quick for a question to you both. I guess what you probably speak to a lot of Spotlight creators and such directly from this. So I'm curious, like when you talk to Spotlight creators who don't use lenses a lot, like how does that conversation usually go? Do they understand the power right away, and is it something that you have to kind of get to it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rog. To double down on just what you said about like the full face kind of like retaining the identity, it's so important. So like, thank you very much for like reiterating that, because it's honestly like when Ginny and I are working with like these lens creators, and it's like my favorite part of my job, because they're just like, I really believe that the lens creator is like the coolest modern artist like of our time, who's like using the left brain, right brain, like creativity, but also this technical abilities. Like it's like fascinating to me. But it's always like, honestly, Ginny and I aren't saying anything revelatory. We're usually just like, do less. Like, take away the filtering. You don't need this. Like, this is such a genius concept. This is such a good idea. To keep it really simple is really how you like elevate the content, and how you do inspire the trends. So just had to mention that. In terms of working with creators and working with them in the lens space, they love it. I think that like they're just trying to find the lens that is personalized for them and that will really kind of like elevate them as a creator. And we usually see this work best with like more comedy creators. And Jenny, you tell me if you think I'm wrong, but like they're looking for the template to tell a joke. They're looking for a template to make a meme kind of vibe. So we do work really closely with them. We help them kind of like with thought starters and prompts. Jenny actually does this on a weekly basis. And we see like content engagement do better from this, especially when we do have kind of like a viral moment with a lens. Snapstars see that, community creators see that, and they do post more both to Spotlight and to their stories. We even see them use it as the last snap in their story. So that is the tile on Discover, as kind of like a way to inspire more creation. But we do work really closely with creators at every level. And, we just finding the right lens to like kind of elevate who they are. Jenny, what would you add there?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, thinking and considering the comedy creators is a really good point too. And that kind of reinforces a lot of the examples we shared. If you give them a format, these types of creators, they already have a lot to share. They've got a really great sense of humor. So if you give them simple formats, they can very, very easily just add to it and create their own spin, add their own thing, which in turn viewers will see and say, wait, I want to use that lens and put my spin on it. So yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So we have a really good question in the chat right now, specifically about how do you identify certain trends And are there any suggestions for places to look for trends? I'd love to know if there are any tools or anything. If you have any thoughts on that.
I think Jenny should probably take this one because she is like our resident trend expert on the team. But we do have a tool that we use, and it's called Tubular, and it allows us to like search for trends and creators that are doing really well. In general, though, like our team is kind of pop culture obsessed. On the internet all the time, internet kids for life. And so we're just consuming tons of content all the time. And we talk about it. We have a meeting every single morning called Morning Beats, where it's literally just like, what do you know? What's happening? What's on the internet? What's trending? Who are the creators to follow? How are people engaging with mobile media content? Like how's the Taylor Swift, album drop launching? So we're always kind of talking, and we're always talking to people in the tech space, honestly, who work both at Snap and who don't work at Snap. We've got a really good network of people that we've kind of come up with in the tech space game. But Jenny, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think for me personally, exactly what Erica said, a lot of scrolling, a lot of research. But typically when I'm on the internet, I feel like I come at it with a very strategic mindset and strategic eye, looking for trends. So, if I see a couple of videos, literally anywhere on the internet about something happening, using a specific word is actually a really good example, because that will be different country by country. And I don't know what that means. Instead of just passing that by and not giving it a thought, usually I'll stop, take a little bit of time to research, like, what are they talking about? What does that mean? How is this relevant to me? And I think Lens creators have a very unique place, because instead of just making content in reaction to it, you can make a tool in reaction to this. So if you see some sort of beauty trend, like everybody's doing the same, I don't know, hairstyle, makeup trend, something like that. Something that we've seen a lot of is those like star pimple patches. That's like huge with Gen Z. If you can make a lens that's like interesting to use based off of those things that you're just seeing out in culture, that's a really, really unique place to be as a creator. And I would argue one that, is a little less impacted. There are a lot of lens creators, as we know, and we're so, happy to see so many, but it's still a very, I think, underdeveloped space in lens development, totally related with, culture trends and specifically making those lenses for content. So there's a lot of place to build for sure.
Yeah, and I just dropped in the chat a little trends.snapchat.com, which is a site that gives a few basic trends that are available from the last week. So I wanted to send out the reminding. You obviously can look at the app and look at trending tabs and look at the various places that things are coming together. The other thing that is also really available to you is to really like predict the calendar, right? Not all trends are like that. A lot of trends are like of the news of the time, but you can foresee when certain holidays are going to come up, when certain sporting events, when certain concerts and things like that. So, the other recommendation I have is just like be a little predictive. Like if I make something that's, ready and ready to go for something that's going to happen in 2 weeks, I'll be the only one doing that. And that's something that you're definitely able to do that can get you more engagement. So yeah, I think that there's a lot.
That's a really good point, Rog, because it's like, there's some trends you can't predict, right? Like if a fly lands on Mike Pence's head, like you can't predict that, but somebody created a lens and it was wonderful. But you can predict tentpole moments and things that we know really resonate with our users, like festival season in general, prom, Valentine's Day, Halloween. So there are some predicted trends, or I guess more tentpole moments that would probably be smart to kind of plan around.
Yeah, amazing. And just overall, I think that there's just a tremendous overall. I just want to thank for all of this thinking that we're doing here, because I think what we're realizing here as we're talking about this is I think lens creators are often thinking, I make a lens and it's used by by a user. But I think what's incredible about this is that in many ways you are creating for creators who then reach out to users. And so I think it's important to think about that a little bit as you're crafting some of the lenses for this, because it's almost a different audience, but it's the same audience, but it's a new audience. It's a little more complex. But I think that as a lens creator today, having the skill to know when you're building for a creator versus when you're building for a general user, I think is a really good thing to have in your toolkit. And it's one of the things that in this contest, we're kind of trying to focus on.
Yeah, I guess another suggestion with that is as a creator, when your lens is live, check out the content that's made with it. If you have snaps that are available from that and people are creating with it, kind of get a sense for how people make with that. I guess the same goes for testing the lens and the technical, capabilities of it. Is it easy to use? Also, maybe ask friends, family to make a snap with the lens and see how they would use it, because maybe they'll be using it in a way that you didn't expect that can help you learn a little bit. I've definitely seen that just in lenses that, we've seen creators use. Sometimes I'm surprised and pleasantly surprised by the way that they use it and the types of, commentary they add to it. Because I thought, oh, well, I didn't expect that. And that's kind of great. Good for me to take notes on, for when I'm working with creators again. And I can suggest to them things that I've seen in this, pool of evidence from content made.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, as we close out here, I think there's one question just about the contest, and I think it'll just allow me to kind of recap the contest again for everyone who's participating. But I just want to thank Jenny and Erica so much. This is like incredible information. I hope you all keep this talk YouTube link bookmarked, because I think this information is evergreen and really important and valuable for you as you go about different things. So the question specifically is there a limit to how many submissions we can make for the contest? The answer is no. We want you to enter as much as you want. And keep in mind that this contest runs through May 12th. But one of the really cool things about this contest is we're taking a look at which lenses. We have an overall contest, right, which we talked about. The prize is up to $2,500. That is basically, we're looking at things like the quality of the video entry you did and the quality. We have a number of different criteria we're looking at. So we're definitely looking for more innovative things for the winners over the ultimate contest. But then we also are rewarding you week to week if your lens happens to get really high video posts. Unique daily video posts is the metric we're looking at. And so if you release a lens this week and it gets a really high number of daily video posts, we're going to look at that and we're going to potentially reward you with $500, $300, $200. And what's great about this is it encourages you to say, hey, let's keep submitting. Let's not just do one entry, but let's do a few during the week. And as we talked about here today, I think in other lensathons we've done, I think the attitude is let's go into the lab, let's create the biggest, most advanced experience that we can create. And look, if you make something like that, we're still going to really notice and it's going to be really exciting. And if you can utilize good video with that, that's amazing. But I also want to say that, as we talked about here, simple is also really, really good. And so while we aren't looking for lenses that use kind of tropes that have already been used and different things, we're looking for creativity. There were a lot of really great examples of simple creative lenses that were created during this contest. And I really, really want you to consider those options, because it might allow you to create 4 entries instead of 1, and you might end up creating things that are just as creative or just as fascinating as someone who spends more time on it. So great. Again, I'm going to drop the link to the contest in the chat just so that everyone remembers. But please, we want you to spring into action for this lensathon. I think it's a really great example. And it's a really fun opportunity for you to stretch yourself and stretch your skills. And it's a great opportunity to what we're doing here, learn about something new, which is how do I create lenses specifically for content creation, for video, for the kinds of things that really matter. So again, I want to really thank Jenny and Erica for joining us here. This has been fantastic.
Thanks for having us. This is great.
Really fun. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you all for joining us. Please visit the Discord if you want to talk to more people about this. There's a lot going on. Please visit the contest website. This is a great opportunity for you to enter, and we'll be back next week with another live stream where we're going to talk even more in depth about just what it's like to get engagement on Snapchat. But thank you so much, and this team has been great. So glad to have you, and we'll see you later. Thanks all.